Hey everyone, welcome back to Narrative English. If you enjoy improving your English through powerful stories that also teach life-changing lessons, you're in the right place. Because stories make English feel natural. We don't just learn new words, we imagine the scenes, we feel the emotions, and we remember the lessons long after the story ends. Today's story is about a young man named Ayaan. For years, he believed he was simply bad at English, but the truth was something completely different. Picture this. Your laptop is open, your shirt is neatly ironed, a glass of water sits beside you. In exactly 30 seconds, your biggest job interview is about to begin. You've dreamed about this moment for years. You know the technical skills, you prepared every answer, you practiced your introduction again and again. Then, the interviewer smiles. "Good morning, Ayaan. Could you please tell me about yourself?" Silence. Your heart pounds. Your mouth opens, but nothing comes out. Not because you don't know English, because fear has stolen every word. That interview lasted only 11 minutes, but those 11 minutes completely changed Ayaan's life. Stay with me until the end, because this isn't just the story of how Ayaan learned English in 5 months. It's the story of how he stopped being afraid to speak. Along the way, you'll naturally improve your own English through simple vocabulary, useful expressions, and real conversations. But more importantly, you'll discover the one mistake that keeps millions of English learners trapped for years. Ayaan didn't discover it until it was almost too late. People often think becoming fluent is about finding the perfect grammar book, or memorizing thousands of vocabulary words, or spending hours watching English videos every day. Ayaan believed those things too. He had studied English since childhood. His notebooks were full. His exam scores were good. His phone contained more English learning apps than games. Yet every real conversation ended exactly the same way. He smiled, he apologized, and he quietly switched back to his native language. He thought he had an English problem. He didn't. He had a confidence problem disguised as an English problem. But Ayaan wouldn't understand that until he met someone who asked him one simple question, a question so ordinary that most people would forget it within minutes. Yet for Ayaan, it became the beginning of everything. It didn't just change the way he learned English, it changed the way he thought, the way he spoke, the way he faced fear. And over the next 5 months, it transformed an ordinary young man into someone who could finally speak with confidence. But before any of that could happen, Ayaan had to experience one of the most painful mornings of his life. The interview began exactly at 9 o'clock. Ayaan adjusted his shirt, took a deep breath, and clicked Join Meeting. The interviewer greeted him with a warm smile. "Good morning, Ayaan." He smiled back confidently. The first few questions were easy. He talked about his university, his projects, and his skills. Everything seemed perfect. Then came one simple question. "Could you please tell me about yourself in English?" Ayaan froze. He had practiced the answer for weeks, but suddenly, every sentence disappeared. His heart raced, his hands trembled. After a few broken words, silence filled the room. 11 minutes later, the interview ended. 2 days afterward, an email arrived. One sentence inside it changed everything. "Your technical skills are impressive, but your spoken English needs improvement." Ayaan read the email again and again. He wasn't rejected because he lacked knowledge. He was rejected because he couldn't communicate. That evening, he looked at his shelf. Grammar books, vocabulary books, practice tests. He had spent years studying English, yet when someone actually spoke to him, he couldn't respond. His younger sister noticed the books scattered across his desk. She quietly asked, "When was the last time you had a real conversation in English?" Ayaan couldn't answer. Watching videos wasn't speaking. Passing exams wasn't communicating. For the first time, he wondered if he had been learning English the wrong way all along. The next morning, he left home searching for answers. Instead, he found someone who would completely change he learned forever. Ayaan wandered into a quiet public library. As he reached for another grammar book, an elderly librarian smiled. Looking for another solution? His name was Mr. Daniel. After listening to Ayaan's story, he gently placed the grammar book back on the shelf. Then he said something unexpected. "Stop studying English." Ayaan looked confused. Mr. Daniel laughed softly. "I didn't say stop learning. I said stop studying." He pointed outside the window where children were playing. They didn't learn their first language from grammar books. They lived inside it. Then he gave Ayaan one challenge. For the next 7 days, don't study English. Live in it. Ayaan had no idea what that meant, but he was willing to try. The first thing Ayaan did was change his phone language to English, then his laptop, then every app he used. Simple tasks suddenly became difficult. He pressed the wrong buttons. He searched for familiar settings. Sometimes he wanted to switch everything back. But every mistake taught him a new word. Without opening a textbook, he was learning naturally. English slowly became part of his daily routine instead of a school subject. 1 week later, he returned to the library. Mr. Daniel smiled. "I can already see progress." Ayaan looked surprised. "But I haven't spoken much English." Mr. Daniel nodded. "I know. That's why your next lesson begins today." Mr. Daniel handed Ayaan a simple challenge. Talk to yourself for 10 minutes every day. The next morning, Ayaan stood in front of his bedroom mirror. At first, he felt embarrassed. "My name is Ayaan." He stopped. Then he tried again. "I'm making breakfast. I'm opening the window. The weather is nice today." The sentences were simple, sometimes incorrect, but they were real. Every day became a little easier. Soon, he found himself describing the world around him in English without thinking. For the first time, English felt like communication instead of homework. When he met Mr. Daniel again, the old man asked one question. "Tell me honestly, are you still translating every sentence inside your head?" Ayaan suddenly realized the answer was yes. Ayaan couldn't stop thinking about Mr. Daniel's question. Are you still translating every sentence inside your head? The next morning, Mr. Daniel gave him a simple exercise. When you see something, don't translate it, just name it. If you don't know the word, describe it. That afternoon, Ayaan walked through the city park. He looked at the trees. Tree. He saw children playing. Children are running. When he forgot the word bench, he simply said, "the chair in the park." Something surprising happened. He didn't stop speaking. For the first time, he realized that communication wasn't about knowing every word. It was about keeping the conversation alive. That evening, he wrote one sentence in his notebook. Don't stop speaking because of one missing word. It became his new rule. But Mr. Daniel had even bigger challenge waiting for him. Next time, Ayaan wouldn't be speaking to himself. A week later, Mr. Daniel took Ayaan to a small tea shop. A tourist sat alone near the window. "I want you to ask him one question," Mr. Daniel said. Ayaan immediately shook his head. "My English isn't good enough." Mr. Daniel smiled. The difference between fluent people and beginners is simple. Fluent people are willing to sound imperfect. Ayaan slowly walked toward the tourist. His heart raced. "Excuse me, where are you from?" The tourist smiled warmly. For the next few minutes, they had a simple conversation. Ayaan made mistakes, he forgot words, but the conversation never stopped. When he returned, Mr. Daniel asked, "So, did the world end?" Ayaan laughed. "No, it was actually fun." For the first time, speaking English felt less like a test and more like a conversation. The next lesson was surprisingly simple. Mr. Daniel handed Ayaan a tiny notebook. Don't fill it with vocabulary, fill it with useful sentences. From that day on, Ayaan carried it everywhere. At the grocery store, he wrote, "How much does this cost?" At a cafe, "Could you say that again?" while watching movies, that makes sense. But there was one rule. Every sentence had to be spoken 3 times before sleeping. Slowly, those sentences stopped feeling memorized. They became natural. Weeks later, the notebook was worn out. Its pages were full. Mr. Daniel smiled as he looked at it. "You've practiced alone long enough. Next week, you're joining an English conversation club." Ayaan's smile disappeared, because talking to one tourist was one thing. Talking in front of a room full of people was something completely different. The following Friday, Ayaan stepped into the English Conversation Club. His palms were sweating. People from different countries were already talking and laughing. He wanted to leave. Then he remembered Mr. Daniel's words. Progress begins where comfort ends. When it was his turn, Ayaan introduced himself. He stumbled over a few words. He forgot a sentence, but nobody laughed. Instead, someone smiled and said, "Take your time." For the next hour, Ayaan listened, asked questions, and joined simple conversations. He wasn't the best speaker in the room, but he spoke more English in one evening than he had in the previous 5 years. Walking home, he realized something important. People weren't judging his mistakes, they were encouraging his effort. From that day, his fear slowly disappeared. His confidence quietly took its place. 5 months passed faster than Ayaan expected. One morning, an email appeared in his inbox. It was another interview invitation. Coincidentally, it was from the same company. This time, Ayaan smiled instead of worrying. When the interviewer asked, "Could you tell me about yourself?" he spoke naturally. Not perfectly, but confidently. He paused when necessary. He smiled. He communicated. The interview ended with a familiar sentence, "We'll contact you soon." 2 days later, another email arrived. Ayaan opened it with trembling hands. "Congratulations, Ayaan. We'd like to welcome you to our team." He looked at the old notebook in his hand. It wasn't the grammar books that had changed his life. It was the small habits he repeated every single day. Months earlier, Ayaan believed he needed better grammar. Then he believed he needed more vocabulary, but neither was true. The biggest change happened when he stopped treating English as a school subject. He made it part of his everyday life. He stopped translating. He started thinking. He stopped chasing perfection, and he started communicating. And slowly, English stopped feeling like a foreign language. It became another way to express his thoughts. Ayaan often tells people, "I didn't become fluent because I studied harder. I became fluent because I used English every single day." Sometimes the biggest transformation doesn't come from learning more, it comes from changing how you learn. Let's remember the lessons from Ayaan's journey. He stopped memorizing English and started living in it. He surrounded himself with English every day. He talked to himself without fear. He learned useful sentences instead of isolated words. He accepted mistakes instead of avoiding them, and most importantly, he practiced consistently. Because confidence isn't built in one day, it's built one conversation at a time. If Ayaan's story inspired you, don't wait for the perfect moment to start speaking. Start today. Describe your room in English. Talk to yourself for 5 minutes. Learn one useful sentence. Small daily habits create extraordinary results. And who knows, 5 months from now, your story might inspire someone else. Ayaan's English journey may have changed his career, but another challenge was waiting for him. Speaking English confidently was only the beginning. The real test came when he had to use English in front of hundreds of people during an international presentation. He would discover that speaking English and speaking with confidence are not always the same thing, and that lesson would change his life once again. Until then, keep learning, keep speaking, and remember, every great story begins with one small step.